Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a stack of pumpkins, which is a perfect centerpiece for your Halloween parties. Hi, I'm Melanie from Balloon Artworks here in Derbyshire in the UK. First of all, I'd like to send a big thank you to all those of you who sent me get well messages when my husband and I weren't very well. We both got COVID-19. It was 3 weeks before I got a clear test. So yeah, I was out of action for quite a bit of time. And this is actually my first session filming since I've not been very well. So we're both very grateful to you all for your good wishes, and we're well on the way to getting better. So thank you for that, and let's get started straight away. For this design, you're going to need a covered cake board. If you don't know how to cover a cake board with a latex balloon, don't worry. I have a video showing you how to do that, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. So watch this video all the way through, and then go check out the description below and check out the video on how to cover the cake board if you don't know how to do that. So this is an 8-inch cake board. One thing I always forget to do, which actually would also mean a lot to me, is if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. That would really help a lot. Take a 260 and just tie a knot at the nozzle end, okay? You're also going to need a section of 160, you don't need a full one, and inflate your 11-inch round. So you've inflated that balloon fully, but we want to downsize it. We want to let some of the air out. Okay, and I'm using my 8-inch cake board as a guide. And when I look down on top of the balloon, it looks slightly smaller than the 8-inch circle. So I'm going to tie that off. I don't worry about using the sizing box or the digital inflator for this design. You don't really need to. So pull that knot along the neck until it's very close to the nozzle. And then you want to squish the air into the neck of the balloon. At the same time, take hold of that 260 with the knot in the end, push the air into the neck and place that knot on top of the nozzle and push deep into the balloon. You're aiming for this section here that looks a little bit darker, a little bit thicker, and then grab hold of that and make a twist. If you're struggling to do that, push the 260 into the balloon. Your balloon may be a little bit overinflated. Then take the 160, wrap it around, take hold of the tails and tie them together. Okay, and once you've tied once, you can tie a second time. Okay? So take the two tails of the 160 and the tails on your cake board and wrap them round a couple of times and tie the two together. Okay? And then you can trim off the messy bits. We don't need these, and we can just trim those off. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So take another 260, tie a knot in the end. Oops, my knot hasn't gone very close to the nozzle, so I'm going to tie another knot. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim off the nozzle here. And I've got my section of 160, so I'm going to inflate my balloon. Let some air out. We're looking for a similar size to this one. Tie a knot in the end and roll that knot to the end of the balloon, the end of the neck. Okay, and again, we've got our 260 ready. We want to squish the air into the neck of the balloon, place the knot on top of the nozzle, push that again into the base, grab hold of it, make a twist, take your 160, wrap that around, and then you can tie the ends together. Okay, and then you can tie a second time. We can take those two tails and tie them directly onto that 260. So just wrap around a couple of times and then tie everything together. I feel like I'm all fingers and thumbs. I don't feel like I'm quite myself yet, but I'm sure I will get there. And then just trim these things off. Okay. Next, you're going to need a 160 in green. I'm using lime, and just snip off the tip end. Tie a knot close to the nozzle. I'm going to tie a second knot just to make that a bit thicker and bulkier. Okay, we've got our 11-inch. We've got our 160 in orange, and I'm just going to trim the tip off there. Okay, and then we can inflate this one. So again, let the air out. Okay, tie a knot high on the neck. Okay, pull that knot, roll it along the neck to the end. Okie dokie. And this time we're going to take our 160. We're going to press the air to the end, push that in right to the base, grab hold of the knots, twist around, and then take that 160, wrap around a few times and tie together. Okay, and tie a second knot. Take hold of the tails and the tails on your other 11-inch round. Wrap them round a couple of times and tie those two together just to secure the two 11 inches together. And then we can again just trim off the tails and tidy that up a little bit. Some of you have been asking me which balloon twisting pump I like, and I love my Agenda. It's an excellent pump. It's got a timer. It's good for inflating 260s, 160s, 350s and 5-inch rounds. The timer function is very useful. Very reliable pump. Very popular with balloon twisters, and I'll leave a link to where you can get that in the description below. So just to inflate a 260 in green, I'm using lime. Let a little bit of air out just to soften it. Tie it off, and I've got a 3-finger tail. Just encircle the base with that 260. You don't want to pull it tightly, so just encircle it loosely. Put a twist in the balloon at this point, and then just take the neck and nozzle, wrap it around, and then tie that into a knot just to secure it, and then make small loops of 2, 3, 4 fingers, depending on how much 260 you've got left. You just want to use up that 260, making a few loops, and I've made 3. Take a 160 and inflate to a 2 to 3 finger tail. Tie that in a knot and just wrap the 160 around the first 2 orange balloons. Just put a twist there and then wrap that neck and nozzle around to secure it and just tie it into a knot. And then with the 160, just make small loops in that 160 just to use up the 160. It actually looks better if the loops aren't the same size. So varying sizes of loops looks great. So just use up the rest of that balloon. I've got a little bit left, so I'm just going to snip off the end and tie that into a knot. And then if you've got a little bit left, just wrap that around and just use up the excess to secure those knots, those loops together. We're going to do the same thing again with the next tier of orange balloons. So this is another 160 tied to a 2 finger tail. And again, just encircling those 2 orange balloons quite loosely, wrapping the neck and nozzle around and then tying that into a knot. And as before, just making a few organically sized loops. I was going to say randomly sized, but organic is a much more popular term, isn't it? So we're organically sizing our loops there just to use up the rest of that 160. And I'm just going to, again, snip off the end. I've got a little bit left and tie that into a knot and wrap in the excess just so that disappears into the display. I often say that I don't use the pocket pump very much, but this is one instance where I do use it. If I've cut off the end, the tip end of a 160, or if I'm using part of a 160 and the nozzle isn't there, then that's really when I do like to use the pocket pump. So just inflate that 160 and then make 3 small loops. We should have just about enough to make 3 small loops. Again, randomly sized. And just leaving a section that is a couple of inches. And we're going to use that just to make a little poodle tail. Just snip off the excess at the end after the knot, and then I'm just going to split this little bubble here for the poodle tail. So just twist a bubble there and then loosely wrap your hands around the uninflated balloon, press down, and you've got your little poodle tail. I'm using a white Eddings 750 paint pen to draw 2 large ovals for the eyes. Okay, so to protect my shirt, I'm just going to move the face to this side and keep the paint on that side. This has dried, I believe, but I've been caught out before, so I just do this as a precaution. Now I'm using a Sharpie and I'm just going to draw around the eyes. So again, we're not aiming for perfection here. A couple of little circles, and then this area I'm going to colour in. These areas I'm going to colour in black. Eyebrows, and a smiley face. As an alternative to painting the faces, you can use vinyl. So it's a great alternative, and I've done that before when I've been in a pinch and I've not even had time to use the vinyl cutter. You can do it with scissors very easily. So remember to like, subscribe, and do check out my Halloween series on Vimeo. And if you need that cake board tutorial, that link is also in the description below.